Hello and welcome to the podcast. Here we talk about stories of people and organizations making a difference. Today we are excited to have Jaya from Sade NGO with us. Sade started in 2020 and works to improve mental health awareness and create job opportunities for women. Thank you for joining us, Jaya, here. So,
Thank you for having me.
So, first, I'm going to talk about the foundation and the vision of Sade NGO. So, Sade started in 2020, and now I've read somewhere that it has 1,000 volunteers. So, what inspired you to create this organization?
When Surgery started, it was in the times of COVID. At times of COVID, we had a lot of problems going on. There was no employment. People were struggling with finances, food, and stuff. So then in the starting, it started with just organizing food drives, sort of hygiene drives, educating people, and then we went on to expand the NGO and its work, and then we started with four major projects. One like for the four major projects are: one is Project Hair, which works in community mental health, and we have Project My Pad and My Pride, which works with girls in puberty and adolescents and help them with understanding what menstrual hygiene is, how they can practice different things. We go on and conduct sessions in school for that. We also have one more project, which is Project Amdani, which works in educating, developing skills in women who sort of do not have access to such resources or cannot earn for themselves. So we focus on skill building and providing them opportunity to earn for themselves. So these are the, and we also have Project Samaj, which is basically male puberty, which works on how making these boys who have just entered the puberty understand what changes their body is going through, and sort of help them understand what the changes are, and maybe also we also try to break stereotypes about what manhood looks like for them, or the notions they might have on what being a grown up male looks have. So these are the four major projects we have been working on, and the inspiration was little. We just wanted to help people out and do something for people, and then we went on to understand that yes, these are the major problems which we can work on, and went into introduce these projects which are specific in their roles, and they do specific work and focus on specific problems and creating solutions for that.
Okay. So all of these projects are working with different communities. So how do you manage between these three projects and three different communities? One is working with males, one is working with women, and the third one I think is on mental health for children.
Yeah, and
So
there's one more for females, basically adolescents, female girls. So yeah. So the four main projects, we have different project heads and managers for all the different projects. Although they work in coordination, but their work is very specific. Where we work in a specific community, we might bring in different projects if we feel the need to, and we sort of collaborate, coordinate, and work in our own ways to focus on different things. And yes, we have like a wide range of communities we focus on. Most of our offline work is focused majorly in the Delhi NCR region, because that's where the most of the team resides. But we also have expanded into various cities by having volunteers join us through online internships and online work, where they can collaborate online and contribute to the project in a way that if they're not able to make it to the field, they can contribute doing some small activities online, which can help them build those skills and also help us in expanding our projects.
okay, so among these four projects, which was the first project you started and what were the challenges that you faced?
I think Project Amdani was the first one. It has been there for a while now. And Project Amdani basically focuses on skill development of women who are unemployed, or basically comes from the background, such marginalized background where they do not have access to resources, or where they cannot earn for themselves. So the first step is to help them build skills. We have vocational training for them. We train them in various things they might be interested on, such as handicrafts or making jewelry and everything, which they might find interesting, as well as they can manage with their household chores as well. So sort of giving them that balance, and then after they're skilled enough, we give them opportunities. We ask them to make things, and we sell it for them, and whatever the profit is given back to them. So in that way, they're also skill building and earning. The main motto behind all of this is to help them, work for themselves and maybe go on and become future businesswomen or entrepreneurs in this field. So our main focus is to help them build skills and find them help them find opportunities. Problems, I think every NGO, every project, everyone who's working in communities, various offline things with people, for people, we have our own set of challenges. Yeah. Like for women, there were initially we started with just one or two people, then we have our own center now, and we are planning to introduce one more center at the end of this year. Okay. And we have 10 women working there, and we have a team of 25 people who work this with these women in various things. Like, we also set up stalls in colleges, fest, and wherever we can put these things, and people actually buy those handmade jewelry and stuff, which are, by the way, very beautiful. So these are the things, and sometimes we do face problems such as they also have hard time sometimes managing. Sometimes people, we are not able to find opportunities, so we are actively looking for collaboration. We actively collaborate with different organizations and work on sort of giving them more reach and more access, and people, and make it more accessible to people so that they can come and buy stuff from us and help these women who have been working so hard on these things.
Okay, so at current, how many women in number are benefiting from the project Amdani?
Currently, we have 10 women who have been working. Other than that, there is a team of 25 people who work with them.
Yeah. So, one of the big challenges is stigma. Like, people are afraid to talk about mental health, and they feel that whenever you are taking counseling sessions or you're taking therapy, you most probably be mentally unstable. So, while you are working on that, how do you like face this when people are so having this old mentality? How do you face this challenge? How do you try to help them to overcome this stigma?
Okay. So basically, Project Therapy, which is the mental health community mental health initiative we work in 4 steps. Like you mentioned, there is a lot of stigma around things. So before we even go on to conducting support groups or therapy sessions for them, we have awareness walks and awareness drives where our volunteers who are trained in certain skills in conducting sessions, and those are skilled volunteers who go there and conduct sessions for these people to help them understand what they're actually trying to do. Until and unless they don't know what's happening, they don't know that why we are coming and talking to them about certain things. We go to them, we talk to them, we go in these communities. These can be slums. They are in collaboration with various NGOs. We have different set of beneficiaries who lies in different age groups and have their own set of problems. And we go to them, we talk to them, we talk to them about what are the problems they are facing and help them understand that yes, these are concerns they are having, and these are the ways there is actually solutions to these things, and there is a way they can cope with this in a better way. Sort of help them understand, like there are also people who come from such communities which are already marginalized or in a way do not have access to resources or even knowledge as well. Knowledge is the privilege these days. So we go them, we try to educate them, and we also try to bring in some psychoeducation part where we try to teach them that these are the things, and there's a way to cope with these things and everything. And then we actually go on to start with conducting surveys, and then understanding we basically conduct surveys to understand what kind of population this is and what kind of problems they are facing. And then we go on, and based on the analysis of these surveys, we go on and conduct community. First, we start with groups, sort of self-help groups or sort of support groups, where they can come together and just talk about their feelings and whatever they are facing. And then we go on, if we identify someone who needs more help, we go on and talk to them and tell them that we are providing pro bono sessions or even sessions at very subsidized rates, so they can go and access these services and work on themselves. So this is the whole process.
Okay, so currently there are 4 projects that are running in Sadeh. So, what is the end goal that you're trying to achieve through your organization?
I think every project has its own set of goals in sort of expanding, and we are always looking forward to expand more. We are currently, like I told you, we are already currently focusing only on Delhi NCR region, but we want to, sort of expand and reach more cities, maybe expand ourselves to 5 or 10 more cities, so we can, actually help a lot more people than we're doing right now. So I think this is one of the long term goals we try to build in. For Project Headed, the mental health part is also very important, and that's where we're trying to, sort of bring in, like, we have these therapy services, and like people can actually access it, and sort of talking to them about this and tell them that these are the services, so that everyone who is going through something has access to resources, and that they know there is someone or something out there which can help them to deal with this stuff. Similarly, for Project Amdani, in long term goals, we just want to have more centers and more women joining us, and help them become the businesswoman we're talking about right now. These are the things for project My Pad My Pride and Project Samaj. The long term goals are all related that we aim to reach more schools and more communities and more region where people do not have access to such knowledge, and go and talk to them about these things. So the long term goal is actually the short term goal in a long running way, that we want to keep doing it and doing it until we have some sort of very substantial results, that yeah, we are doing this and we are able to reach as much population and as much people as we can.
Okay, so what is this year's goal? Is there any upcoming project which is going to launch?
Right now we are working on expanding our already existing project, so we are not planning to introduce a whole new project, but we are trying to expand the current ones.
Okay, so can you give an advice to the current change makers who want to do something for the society? They want to run some project, but they're at the beginning stage, so they're kind of figuring out that what to do, what should be our next steps. So how can we make a change if we are a college student or we are just beginning?
Uh, yes, I started as a college student. I was in my undergrad and first year when I joined SAT, and I joined as a volunteer. I was just there to do something, to try something new. NGOs was a new thing for me when I started. So I just started being a volunteer. I volunteered for 5 months, and hopefully our founders gracefully they liked my work and offered me the HR position in the project head, where I went on to work on the project from the initial steps itself. So when I think of being a change maker, for me it is to make difference, like even a small difference in people's life. If I can bring a smile to someone's face, and if I can do just a little thing which can make them go home and think and smile about it. And for anyone who is trying to, work in, I'm not talking about a certain field, mental health, social work, whatever they want to do. Just think of it as you're doing it for someone, for someone's benefit. It's not just for, it's obviously it gives you happiness, but at the end of the day, we're trying to make difference, and that difference can only be made when you're actually considering others' problem, and actually when you're trying to work with population, understand what is their idea of solution. It's not just we can sit and think of different things, and when we actually go on field, we realize the actual reality looks very different. So go on, talk to people, understand what change means to them, understand what solutions mean to them, and based on that, make your strategy and go work with them.
Okay. So as a mental health advocate in some sense, because you're working as an HR and a project there, yeah? So what do you think, like what are the people suffering from? Like, is this the stigma that's why they're not able to open up to people, or there is some taboo that they have in their mind, or they're just simply depressed? So what is the problem? Like, why are so many people suffering from mental health issues?
I think, like, when I talk about this thing, I have a very common answer, that in the race of trying to, make the conversations about mental health more common, we sort of started overgeneralizing it. And that's why we hear a lot of people saying that I'm depressed and everything, and but they won't go for therapy. So that's where I guess the stereotypes and stigmas come in around. You can look up for the criterias, and yes, I have all these things, and I can diagnose myself with these things. These are specific things which we see in younger generation. So this is one thing. In like we're trying to I think this is very important when we are trying to raise awareness about things. It's also very important to focus on how we are doing it and what kind of content we are actually giving to people when we are trying to make them aware about certain things. So whenever we are trying to do that, as a mental health advocate, I'm a big mental health advocate. I've been working with such project. There is one of my I would say one of my babies, which we raised and grew together with other people in Surrey itself. So that's like a big thing to me, and I feel like people this I don't think the certain situations and certain things which are coming up, the world is changing, all the scenarios, the paradigms are always shifting since COVID-19, and all those things are happening. I won't say people are just depressed or just sad, but people are we obviously see we don't see mental illness as a one thing which is diagnosed. Mental illness is a continuum. There is mental wellness and there is mental illness, and it lies on the continuum itself. And people can be anywhere on this continuum. They don't need to be already mentally healthy, or they don't need to be mentally ill. But on this continuum, people can need help whenever and wherever they want. So I think making people realize that you don't have to be diagnosed with certain disorders to go and access any mental health care. It's just can be as simple as you're having time management issues, so you're stressed about something and you're not able to cope with it. Just these simple things, you can go and ask for help, and there are people, there are professionals, there are trained professionals who are there to help you out with these things. So I think breaking that stereotypes that only mentally ill people or people who have been diagnosed with certain disorders go to mental health services is something which we are also trying to break, and trying to make people understand that you can have simpler issues and which you are unable to deal with, and go and seek help. It doesn't make you weak. If you're asking for help is actually one of the traits of being strong. Asking for help is hard, and going and asking for help is actually necessary for people to help them understand that yes, I can cope with it, and I can cope with it in better ways than I'm actually doing right now. So I think that also comes in.
So, do you often get children complaining about their parents that they are violent, they hit them, and that's why they are stressed? And if you get those cases, then how do you sort of like try to help them?
Uh, while working with children, we try to be very careful, uh, because when we are specifically dealing with children, and if there is issue of certain sort of abuse at home, it could be verbal, it could be emotional, it could be physical as well. And we're trying with when we're talking with children, our main focus is to help them, help them educate themselves in a better way. Mostly, we work with children in collaboration with different organizations who are already working with children. So that makes us like that added that kind of removes one step of actually making them understand, bringing all the kids together. And when they do bring up some issues, we try to communicate with the what are the main core team and whatever the leaders are, and we try to go back. We try to avoid going to parents directly and tell them that this is what your kid said, because that's not the appropriate way to deal with. If any of the kid is coming to you and telling you that this is happening to me, it actually took them a lot of courage to come out and tell you. And going back to their parents and telling them, it might lead to more such kind of abuse. So we try to understand what child is trying to say and sort of help core team understand, and then we see what necessary steps could be taken. It's We haven't had any such cases coming up, but this is the sort of things we have in mind in case something actually comes up.
So, mental therapy helps you in mental clarity, like you become more clear about the issues that are there affecting you. And like, mostly we found that it is very confusing in our career when we are just stepping up and doing something, like even we are applying for a job or we are stepping into masters, we are very confused because different sorts of people tell us that this is what you should do or that is what you should do, and we are like very confused. So if you are seeking help for that, if you're having a counseling session or something, does it really provide you clarity, or is it that you need to spend more time with yourself and look inwards?
I think the process of therapy looks different for everyone who's coming up with different issues, and mostly it's not just one issue when they're going to therapy. All sort of issues come up, everything which has been happening in their life. One problem might be dominating others, but there are certain hundreds of other things which might be bothering a person. So when anyone goes to therapy, I think the first step is realizing what you're actually going through, developing that awareness that yes, this is the things I am going through, and sort of accepting and sort of understanding that yeah, that realization, yeah, this is happening to me, and all those things plays a very important role. That clarity also matters actually. Sometimes people do go through stuff and they're not able to figure out what's wrong with me. You might see a lot of people asking these questions, what's wrong with me? I don't know what's wrong with me. And I don't think there is a need to be anything wrong with you to go to therapy if just you're feeling lost, a bit lost in any of this, in be it career, be it life, be it relationship, be it about yourself. It doesn't matter. You can just go and talk to people, and therapists actually help people understand, develop that self awareness. Yeah, this is happening, that clarity, and focus on what are the major problems and try to come up with maybe solutions. Maybe just, develop that, like you said, the inner awareness and sort of look inwards and see where this is originating from. I guess there's a lot of things which comes into therapy, and the process of therapy looks different for everyone. So I don't think we have one stance over it, but I can say that confidently that it does help people in understanding themselves better and become a better version of themselves and coping up with things in a better way.
Okay, so my last question is that what are the three coping strategies according to you for stress busting?
Okay. I like like while we work with communities, there are certain different things, but I can tell you what worked for me. First, for me, is just journaling or scribbling down whatever you're stressed over. Just take a pen or notebook or open your notes app or anything wherever you like to type, and just type out and write out things which are bothering you. Sometimes developing just that, sometimes you write things down and then you realize that it's not even a big deal, or maybe I'm just stressing over because I have a lot of things. But just writing it down helps you understand, sort of helps you gain mental clarity about it. Secondly, listening to songs. I am like, meditation is one of those. People try to meditate with or without songs. Meditation doesn't seem to, I'm not very meditation kind of person, but listening songs is one of the I have, I guess. This is the second one. I listen to all kinds of songs, and songs actually help you sort of focus on one thing, sort of focus on that lyrics. Maybe you're focusing on just a simple tone, maybe just it's just the music, it's just the lyrics or chords or whatever. So that is like the second strategy I have. Third is talking to people, going asking for support, going to your loved ones. If you do not have anyone who you can talk to, reach out to people, like reach out to therapists. Since there are many services available online, we provide therapy offline, in person, all sorts of kind of. And just talking to someone, reaching out for help is a big thing. Whenever you're stressed about something, just help to just understand this. Yeah, this was just the thing. Sometimes you do not actually need help or suggestions, just someone to rant to and tell them that this is happening, and I just don't know what to do. And I think these are my try to cope up with whenever I'm having stressful times.
Okay, so thank you so much, Jaya ma'am, for sharing Sadeh's amazing journey with us. And of course, whatever you shared apart from the journey was also very inspiring for me as well, because I needed such coping strategies for myself. Because sometimes I'm like totally stressed and I don't know how to deal with that, and it becomes a burden. So, thank you so much for coming
Thank
and
you.
giving your precious time.
It's very great to be here. Thank you so much.